Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I am your host, Marco Mazzola, and with me tonight is our special guest, is my wife, Amy. Hello, Amy.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a few minutes since you've been on the podcast, so glad to have you back on. So tonight, gang, we went to see A Christmas Carol. It was a gift for Amy for her birthday. Mm-hmm. So we went to see a stage production at the North Shore Music Theater, and that's in Beverly, yep. I believe. That's Bill Haley's. Right? Is that mm-hmm. correct? Bill Haley's North Shore. Bill Hanney. Excuse me. Hanneys. Bill Hanney's North Shore Music Theater. Apologize. So we're going to be reviewing the production of A Christmas Carol. This is an unsolicited review. They did not pay us to do this. We just happened to wanted to go. You've been wanting to see this production. Have you seen a production of A Christmas Carol before? I know I haven't.
No, not a stage production. No. I've seen movies. Who hasn't seen a movie?
Right. So there's tons of iterations of it, which we'll get to as well. So we'll mostly be talking about the production that we saw tonight. But we'll break off and talk a little bit about other productions that we've seen or movies and things that we liked as well. So cool. All right. So let's get into it. Let me just kind of give you a rundown before we get started on it. Sort of plug it, if you will. It's a free plug, if you will, for the production. So again, it's the Bill Hanney's North Shore Music Theater. It's going now through the 29th or the 23rd. Let me just make sure. I don't want to give people wrong information if you do want to go see it, because we're outside the Boston area, so we get to see things like that. So we have this show, and I want to say it's the 23rd, actually, is what I looked at before. Yeah, I believe it's December 23rd it's playing through. This is their 30th annual production of A Christmas Carol, and your main star is David Coffey. Is that correct? He plays obviously Ebenezer Scrooge in this movie. So in this production, excuse me. So it's been late. It's been a long day. So hopefully we can pull it together and get this podcast out as we want to keep everything fresh in our mind, because we just got done and went to dinner afterwards for your birthday and came back and wanted to podcast about it. So all right. So let's see. Adapted for the stage by John Kimball, and let's like I said, David Coffey is your main star. A bunch of us: Summer Kabuchia, I think I'm pronouncing that right? Lee Barrett, Russell Garrett, Marcus M. Martin, Derek Lestikoff, and Alex Pouet. So there's a lot of different stars, some interesting names that I'm trying to wrap my mouth around and not butcher completely. But it was interesting. Give me your take on the production, then we'll go into some details on the show itself.
I mean, so overall, I loved it. I thought it was really well done. I mean, I'm a musical theater nerd. Like, I'm a theater nerd anyways. I did drama in high school. I love theater. I love seeing live shows. So, COVID's kind of been a little help for me in that way. But I've wanted to see this for the last few years, and it just hasn't worked out. Like, we haven't been able to go. We're both really big Christmas people.
Yes.
And we just haven't been able to go and see it.
Yeah, so Christmas is definitely our main fun season. Yeah.
So, I mean, I really liked it. I was really impressed with it. There were some parts of it that I thought were maybe a little overdone, but on the whole, I thought David Coffey was excellent.
Yeah.
He did such a good job with Scrooge, just the array of emotions and the fear and what he was seeing and how miserly and terrible he was at the beginning and his evolution at the end. It was just wonderful to see. Like, I cried several times.
You did. I thought I would. I didn't, but that was weird for me not to, that sort of thing. So let's give a quick rundown of the story for anybody who might have lived under a rock and has never heard of Christmas Carol or what it is. So basically, it's Ebenezer Scrooge. He is the town, owns a, what would you say he owns? It's not like a bank.
They call it a counting house.
It's a counting house. It's essentially an old-fashioned bank in England, and he's been collecting money for decades, and he's the rich guy, the old crotchety rich guy in the town who doesn't give money away for anything. He's just there collecting it. Think Scrooge McDuck. He's the original Scrooge McDuck, if you will. And so Bob Cratchit is his employee, who's he's basically a poor family, and he doesn't get paid very well. And the whole story is Ebenezer basically going through this transformation from being this miser, this guy who's just collecting money, never giving it away, to being a philanthropist and wanting to give away because his ex-partner who passed away, Bob Marley.
Jacob Marley.
Wow. See, I told you it's late. Jacob Marley, not Bob Marley. He's been dead longer than that. Bob Marley is Jacob Marley. I'm going to get this right. I promise I'm going to get this right. Jacob Marley. I might have to change the name just so I can get it right because that's what happens here. So he's been dead, and he comes back as a spirit to visit Ebenezer to basically tell him to change his ways. Otherwise, he's going to end up like Jacob Marley and basically like, what would you call it, like a purgatory?
Yeah.
Essentially.
Like he's wandering the earth in chains.
Right.
Like he's destined to... He's destined to, live in this eternal because of all the wicked things he did during his lifetime. He's stuck there.
Right.
So, and then Scrooge is visited. Marley tells him he's going to be visited by these 3 ghosts.
Right.
Christmas past, Christmas present, Christmas future.
Right.
And so he is, and through each one, he's able to see like, wow, I really made this big mistake. I should have, looking at his past, seeing the mistakes he made there, looking at the present, seeing what he could actually change and how he was, like how people were suffering around him, and then having a vision of the future of if things didn't change.
Right.
So it's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It's really cool. And he gets to see what, he gets to visit the different time periods, right? Like from his life in the past, when he was a little kid to when he was older and, basically when he's turned, right? Because he wasn't always like that. He was a pretty happy kid, actually. And then he was, what would you say his years was like after his college years when he basically met a woman and her name was, do you remember what her name was? Belle, right? So he meets her. They're basically going to get married, right? Mm-hmm. And then he starts in on the...
Yeah, he's working and money starts to become the most important thing to him.
Right.
More than her, and she realizes that.
Yeah.
And, basically says like, I can't be here with you. Like,
right. You have to choose.
You have to choose.
Yeah.
Like, do you love money more than me? Or would you, I'm poor. Would you even think about being with me now if you hadn't already made this promise to me?
Right.
And,
he can't answer her. He basically,
which
basically by not answering, he answers the question.
Yeah.
Right. So clearly money is more important than she is. And that's where his downward spiral into being the miser that he becomes. And so Jacob comes back to him to tell him, you need to repent and you're going to be visited by the 3 ghosts. And they do. Now, let's talk about the actual show. Right, we told the story basically, the shortened Reader's Digest version, but it is a short novella, right, by Charles Dickens.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not a long story.
Well, everything Charles Dickens wrote was long, right? Because he got paid by the word.
Right.
Penny a word. So everything he wrote was very wordy.
Yeah, wordy. But how long? I wonder how long. Actually, I haven't looked. I have to look that up. How long was the original? Let's say a book or whatever, novella.
No,
how long did they actually make it? Because the show lasted how long? Like how long was the actual?
2.5 hours.
It was about 2.5 with what was that? 20 minute to half hour intermission.
Yeah.
It seemed like a long intermission, but that's okay. It was a good time to stretch. So, talk to me about the actual production. What you loved about it. Let's start there. I always like to start with what we loved about it. We'll go into the nitpicky. This could have been better, and I don't think there was that much of that. So that's going to be a very short portion of the show, because overall we both really loved it. Let's just start there, and we both would recommend going to see 100%. It if you can. It's probably by the time this episode airs, so when I post this, it's already gonna be over.
Yeah,
it's probably gonna be done. So because it's the 19th now, we're probably not gonna post it till after Christmas. So I would say plan it for your calendar for next year.
Yep, absolutely.
Put it on your calendar for next year. So talk to me about what you loved about it.
I already said it, but I loved David Coffey. I thought he was incredible. His Scrooge was very well-rounded and believable. Like he was super miserly in the beginning, but he, as his heart kind of grows 3 sizes like the Grinch, you see it as a gradual evolution, and you see the things that really did affect him in the past and how he chose to do that. I think was very thoughtful and it was very deliberate, and I really appreciated it. Yeah. I thought all of the cast was really, really talented and well done. The people seemed really well suited to their roles. There were a couple kids in it who I even thought, if you can get kids to act and do their thing, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
So, even that was impressive. I liked Bob Cratchit. I thought he did a really good job.
He's been doing it apparently for a long time there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked it up on their page there. which I should mention, by the way, if you do want to get tickets, they're at nsmt.org, so North Shore Music Theater.org, and tickets still available for the show through the 23rd. Again, by the time this airs, it'll be done, so plan for it for next year. He's been at it a long time there. I guess he's been, and there was, I guess this show brought back a lot because it was their 30th annual production. So, whereas David Coffey returns celebrating his 27th season. So he hasn't been there all the time. He might have missed a few in between, but almost the whole time.
Well, I don't think they had it last year either. So
yeah, that's true. It probably didn't happen last year. So Russell Garrett plays Bob Cratchit. This is his 10th year.
Yeah.
So clearly he's been doing it a while. He's super talented and really did the role well. I loved his performance, absolutely. And I loved everybody's performance. I can't say that I didn't like anybody's performance. Overall, I think for me, the show was interesting because I've never read the original. So any exposure I have to A Christmas Carol is movies, right? TV shows, movies, the Patrick Stewart version from that to the
Muppets.
The Muppets one with Michael Caine, obviously Scrooged with Bill Murray, things like that. So those are my exposures to it. Obviously, I know of the story, I know the story, but I've never actually read. I'm kind of interested now to read after watching this play. I'm actually interested to go back and actually read the actual novella, the original. So maybe I'll do that. If I can find a minute and a half to read something other than just working and teaching. So absolutely. All right. Anybody else? Actually, no, I want to talk about the music. What did you think of the music and the musical numbers, I should say?
I wasn't prepared for it to be a musical. I didn't know that it was going to be singing, and I loved that.
That's probably on me, because I booked the tickets for you, and right on the website it says A Christmas Carol, a musical ghost story.
Well,
so you didn't see that because I didn't show that to you, and so you wouldn't have necessarily known that.
But I thought it was great. I thought it was I like musical theater. It's kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
So that worked really well for me. I mean, some of them Here We Go a Wassailing, who hasn't heard that before.
Right.
It's old timey Christmas carols. But I thought it definitely added a lot of a fun element for me that I enjoyed.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely liked it. I liked the musical numbers. I think there might have been one or two that, not that I didn't like them, but I didn't necessarily know that they were necessary per se. Sometimes, they want to get everybody to have a musical number. So every scene, every kind of interaction, there has to be sort of break out into song. I think there was a couple in there that didn't necessarily need to happen. But
like what?
It's kind of hard to pinpoint. Because we've only seen it once, and then we had dinner. My brain's racked with gnocchi. But there was one. I can go. Actually, let me look at the music, the scenes, the musical numbers. I can actually give it to you better. Stage 2. No, they're not the. Yeah, the Country Road. Country Road wasn't. The Fezwig's Warehouse. That's the Here Come Wassailing. Yeah, I like that.
Warehouse.
Yeah. I don't know. There was definitely a couple in here that it was actually after the interval, after the intermission. Yeah. But anyway, there was a few that I thought might have. Again, it is what it is. It's a musical, so you're gonna have to throw as many songs in there as possible. What they did do was amazing. What they did. The stage production. It's a smaller round stage.
It's theater in the round.
It's a theater in the round, and it's a decent size, right? But it's not like a Wang theater. It's not a big theater in New York. You know what I mean? It's a smaller local. In Peabody, Massachusetts. It's not a Beverly near Peabody, Beverly, Massachusetts. Smaller production, right? What did you think?
So I like the theater in the round because I feel closer to the actors and I feel closer to the action. There aren't a lot of sets that block things, so you have a view.
Yeah, it's a minimalist set
everywhere.
type of deal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think the downside is that at some point somebody's got their back to you, right? So that's definitely the downside. But they do a good job. I feel like they always have there of rotating, where people stand and when the back is to you and when it isn't, and things like that. They're
not just standing still most of the time.
No.
They definitely
People
move constantly.
around.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is nice to have that closeness to it, which in some cases, which we'll talk about in a minute, I wasn't crazy about. But we talked about that, but we'll talk about it on the show. But I really want to stay on the what we loved about the show first, because I like the closeness. I like the intimacy of that, although I do appreciate a large production as well. I don't know. There was something about it, and it might have been the things that I wasn't crazy about because of the noise level. It's super loud. You know what I mean? Because it's so close. And we had good seats. The orchestra, which there's a small orchestra towards the front, and then there's two like lifted stages, which we were kind of next to, that have more of the orchestra in it, which I think is an interesting way to do it. And the conductor's kind of like playing to all three, which again I thought was interesting. The only downside I thought to that was because we were sitting there, we're under the lights. We were under the lights that they needed to see their musical note, their sheets. So we were kind of like, we weren't in the dark as some of the other audience members were. That was a little distracting for me.
Oh. See, I didn't mind that. It let me see the program and let me know like what was coming up next, which I always like.
Sure. Yeah.
I get more distracted by not knowing what's coming.
All right.
Not knowing not kind of knowing the next thing. I do. I definitely get more distracted by that.
Okay.
I like that. I like to like there's this element of like the actors, like they use the whole stage, right? So they come up and down the aisles and they move in and out.
I like that.
And I like that. Like I appreciate that. I think that
what makes you feel a part of it. You're in it. You're in
exactly.
You're the audience, but you're just like you're like a townsfolk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sitting around. Yeah.
It adds to the intimacy.
That is cool.
I think it was really like it felt. Today it felt very close. I think when we did when we saw Music Man there too.
Yeah. So this is our at least together. This is our third.
I think when we saw Music Man there too, it really pulled it in very closely. They used that a lot.
Yeah.
So it was very. I don't know. I like that. I do enjoy that about it there.
Yeah. I did. I liked the Music Man there, and we saw Evita there, which got me back into listening to that music as well. So, and Bill Hanney's, they do a great job. Like, I haven't seen a bad production. It's only been 3, and I've liked all 3. So we're looking forward to going more.
I saw West Side Story there too, and I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, so I would like to see more there. I know you want to see Kinky Boots there, and there's a few other things coming up that I'd actually like to see. I think they're doing a Cinderella next year as well, so I wouldn't mind seeing that. I love Disney stuff. I love Cinderella. It's
not Disney.
Well, it's not Disney, but that's what I know of Cinderella. So
it's really
I would like
different.
to see like an actual stage production of it, which is not going to be like the Disney movie cartoon.
No, it's not at all. I did crew for that. When I was in high school.
Right.
So we did we had like a younger kids theater group and they put it on and I did the costume. So I know it pretty well.
Which is why I'd like to see it, right? Like I'd like to see a real production, an original production of it, not the Disney version. I know the Disney version, like it's the same thing with the Christmas Carol. I've seen all those other, Disney versions and Muppet versions and da-da-da. So I wanted to see a real production based on the actual original source material. So that's why I want to see Cinderella, because I'd like to see that as well.
Yeah, no, I would see that.
I think that would
I really liked it. It's a fun
amazing.
one.
So absolutely. Costuming. Talk to me. What do you think?
It's a period piece, so it's hard for me to comment on if it's accurate or not. But it seems.
Yeah, we can't really necessarily talk about the accuracy, but I
thought they did a really nice job.
I think they go a long way. They really put it out there.
I will say, like their costumes were very thick and heavy, and the theater was freezing.
There was I wasn't cold, but I had my hoodie on the whole time.
I was really cold. So I wonder if it was like a purposeful.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they must be really hot. Like Bob Cratchit's running around with his scarf and his hat and his coat. And,
right. So plus the lights. The lights are really hot. Stage lights are really tough. They're really hot. So
yeah, it was really. I mean, I was cold. I had my coat and my scarf on the whole time.
Yeah.
Like I was freezing.
Yeah.
Which is.
Now, I don't remember when we saw like Evita or the Music Man.
I remember. I
remember being that cold.
It was the summer for both of those, though.
And how trippy would it be if that was done on purpose, because this is a Christmas Carol, which is meant to be in December when it's cold?
Could be.
So like, screw it. Let's let the theater be cold and everybody can be cold like they're in it.
It
feels really like we're actually there in it with them.
I didn't even think about taking my coat off.
Yeah, no, neither did I. I thought I would at first because it was pretty uncomfortable sitting in those small seats with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But no, I thought the costumes were great. Yeah. Like I think they matched the people for people who, they played with dark and light. Cratchit's clothes were very light. Scrooge in the beginning wore a lot of dark.
Yeah.
They had a lot of things that I bet weren't necessarily period. There were a lot of plaid pants and things but I thought they were really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool looking stuff.
Absolutely. Scrooge was, so I liked, obviously he did an amazing job. I liked the amount of humor.
Yes.
They stuck into it. So even when he was crotchety and he was, he hadn't turned yet, he hadn't, had his revelation, he still had some moments where he looked at the audience or whatever, and it was fun. He definitely draw you in and have a little quite. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect that. Because the character, you understand the character, and you think he's just this crotchety old guy, and he's not going to be funny. But they put some fun parts in there, some extra comedy bits and some beats in there that I thought was pretty fun. So, yeah. So, would you see it again?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I would absolutely see
So
it
now,
again.
obviously, our son is 17 months old. It's obviously way too young, but I think even next year would be it's too young. There are some certain parts, like the Jacob Marley stuff, way too frightening.
I mean, I wouldn't take him till he's much older and able to sit. I mean,
sit, and there's some things he might be able to sit, like, because they have kid productions, like they have base, designed for kids, but so they kind of expect that the kids are gonna be doing that. But this type of production, like, even if he could sit. Yeah. Like, what age is minimum for, like, you think he could sit through this much time?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it depends on the kid. But I think for this particular play, I would say probably, like, I'd want him to be at least 6. But it's scary. Like,
that's why I'm thinking older.
The Jacob Marley stuff was really, really scary.
It was.
It was more like
so
Halloween.
He's flying around on the wire, like they have him hooked up, and he's most of the time flying around on the thing.
Which I thought was really cool. Like, that wasn't the part that I didn't like.
Yeah,
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That was an
the
amazing
chains,
take
and
on that.
You had the other two actors who were basically the dancers who were following around, who did a lot of the, sort of like the quiet roles, and they were moving his chains and dragging him and pulling and things like that. I thought the way they produced that, the way they choreographed that was amazing. But his face and his costuming had that sort of neon, like, black light glow to it, so it made it like a very green face with blue. That ethereal blue background to it lower, and he had like the lamps on him that were glowing, which I thought was amazing, by the way.
Yeah, it was amazing, but it reminded me of Beetlejuice.
It was very Beetlejuice.
It was way more Beetlejuice to me than like Christmas Carol. Like, during that part, I felt like it was Halloween. Yeah. Like, there was smoke, and there was the big booming voice.
Yeah, it was very altered. Digitized voice almost,
and it was hard actually for me to understand fully what he was saying. Like, I know the story really well, so I didn't need to hear it.
100%.
It was very hard to hear what he was saying, so that I found it really distracting. And I think if it wasn't, I mean, it's kind of a ubiquitous story, right? Like, everybody knows some version of it, but if you didn't, I think it would be really
because he was on there for a long time. Like,
like
I said, I've seen a lot of productions, whether cartoons or movies. He's never there that long. Like, he was on there. He was like Captain Exposition for quite a while on this show.
Well, and I think what he had to say was important, right? Like, what he had to say in the message that he had to send.
I just wish I could hear more of it.
Exactly.
Or understand more of it, I should say.
Yeah, it's what I was going to say. Like, I think the message, his delivery, and his suffering, and his "don't be like me" is super, super important. And here we are, and we really can't hear it. Yeah. So I was disappointed in that. Like, I would have liked to have heard more what he said. He didn't. I think certain people in the play definitely had a very a thick British accent, but not everyone did, and I think that worked out really well because not everyone, like, at times it might have been a little forced, and I think for the characters that had it, it made sense.
Just on a side note, there's a movie coming out with Tom Holland, who plays Spider-Man. He's a movie coming out called Uncharted, and it's based on a video game, and at this one point he's in his plane, and this, like, Irish or British, but I think it's Irish guy comes out, this massive Irish guy, and he just speaks to him like in the very thick accent, and he's like basically he's gonna kick his butt, and he, like, finishes this long-winded speech, and Tom Holland looks at him and goes, "What?" I have no idea what you just said, because he hits it with this big accent. So it's kind of the same thing. It's like 5 minutes of speaking, like, what did you just say? I caught some of it. I think I could fill in the gaps, but I got some of it. And that's what you had to kind of do, was fill in some of the gaps, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was, I found that part very distracting, and I found it frightening as an adult.
It was a little scary.
It was just how loud he was, and it was booming and crashing.
Yeah, they needed to turn down the main a little bit. I think they needed to turn down the main for a lot of it, though. The place isn't that big, and it was pretty well full. Yeah. Like, the audience was pretty well packed. I mean, I don't think they sold out completely, but it was.
No, there were a few seats.
There was some few seats, but not many at all. And that's only due to the Corones. That's not to do to them, because everything we've ever gone to, it's always been sold out. But it was, so there wasn't it wasn't like there was an empty audience for the sound not to get absorbed. So they just definitely had it up too high, and we were midway. We weren't all the way near the front, but we weren't all the way near the back either. I'd say we were a little closer than midway.
Yeah, I
to
think
the
we were
stage.
closer to the front. Yeah.
But it was still like super, super loud. The audio was just a little too intense in some of the places. The Ghost of Christmas Present was the same way. He was amazing. I thought he did an amazing job. The Ghost Christmas Present, his costuming, his the size. They obviously put him up on stilts, basically on lifts. I thought he was incredible, but it was just way too loud. It was way too loud. I have like one ear that crackles when the noise level gets like the dB gets a little too loud, and it was crackling for most of the show.
He didn't bother me.
Really?
He didn't bother me. Yeah,
The song was incredible. Like his singing and the production was awesome, but it was just a little too loud for me.
I didn't find him too loud. The only part that I found too loud was Marley.
And I find like I don't want to feel like I'm ancient. I'm only going to be 46 in January. I'm not that guy. Like, turn it down, you damn kids. I'm not at that stage of my life yet.
You kind of are, though.
No, I'm not. Thank you for that.
Don't be on my lawn.
Get off my lawn, you damn
there.
kids.
You're getting there.
Not just about parking spaces. Get out of my parking space.
That's exactly right.
Definitely where I'm at. But I've been there since I was in my 20s, so you can't really beat that on me. But yeah, that part I thought that was it. Those were the two parts for me that were the loudest, and that were the most bothersome. Everything else was pitch perfect. I liked it, even though it was loud. It wasn't too loud. And I understand obviously everybody's mic'd because it's a round room, so you can't just project. Right? I've actually been on the stage in productions before, but it's a flat, it's a straight, so you can project straight out to the audience with no mics. I can project to the back of an auditorium. My voice is obviously pretty loud and boomy. I can do that, but when you're in a round room, you can't do that because you're facing one way. Nobody behind you is going to hear you.
Well, and
you have to mic it, and they have to do multiple productions.
Exactly. You're not.
I think I did like 4.
Exactly. You're not doing multiple shows a day for 30 days or whatever it is.
Right.
I think that makes it very different.
Yeah, so they mic everybody up. So the audio person just needs to turn it down a little bit. Other than that,
yeah.
The other part that bothered me, and this is really the last part that bothered me, because like I said, overall we love this show. There was too many loud, and I'm going back to loud, but pyrotechnics. The pyrotechnics in the show, I felt some of them were very unnecessary. Like, it was very loud and like shocking. You see everybody like jumped, but some people you could tell jumped in not a good way. Like this, this bang, this spark, this firework would come up from the stage, and it was super loud. And you're meant to jump, like it's supposed to be a surprise, but it was almost like too much.
There were a couple of them with Marley.
Yeah,
that
that's
I was
the
like,
ones.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
When the Ghost of Christmas Present had the the thing that came
His
out of his staff.
That didn't bother me. No, that was like a sparkle. That was a cool little sparkle. It was almost like like one of those little firecrackers you throw on the ground, right? Those little whip things those little package you throw on the ground. It breaks. I don't know what the hell they're called. But you do. That's what it sounded like with a lot of sparkle. But that was fine. It was the big firework that came out from the stage, and there was like 2 of them at once. Right, there were 2 on each, one on each side.
Yeah,
and
when he got mad.
When they both went off at the same time. So the problem with it wasn't just the noise level, the shock value. Couple those together with the sort of low tone or the tone before it, it took me out of the show. I was so focused on how loud and obnoxious it was, it took me a moment to get back into the show. So it wasn't like staying in there with the moment. It wasn't like, oh, that was, you wouldn't just do the shock and you're watching what's going on next. It was like shocking, like, oh, that was annoying. What the hell just happened? Meanwhile, they're still doing the production. Like, oh yeah, I got to pay attention again. So it broke my concentration of the show.
Yeah, see, I feel like that was the least of it. The whole Marley thing broke my concentration and just made me feel like I was in a haunted house on Halloween. So I had
like Spooky World. It's like going to Spooky World.
Yeah,
Like that,
so they really didn't like. They were an addition, but I didn't feel like I felt like I was already out of it with that. Like it kept feeling like Beetlejuice. It's really like Beetlejuice. I just kept
because he was flying. Like you see in the beginning of Beetlejuice when he first comes out of the grave,
yes,
and they start to run away and he flies at them.
Well, and his hair was flying. Yeah, and
it was very much like
he
that.
He didn't have the striped suit, but the lights and everything. I don't know. It just reminded me.
Well, yeah, that sort of black light effect that they had going on with him was
like
interesting.
It just reminded me so much of that. And I like Beetlejuice. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But I went to see A Christmas Carol, and
not Beetlejuice, right?
Not Beetlejuice, but that really is the only thing that I was not disappointed is too strong a word. Like I would have chosen to do it differently, but who am I? Nobody's hiring me to produce this play.
No, I hear you. But you're an audience member. You're somebody who wants to, even if you didn't have a podcast to voice your opinion on, you're going to tell your friends.
Yeah,
you're going to tell people like, oh, I saw this amazing production at the music show, the North Shore Music Theater. Go see it. Would you? Would you tell people to go see this?
I really would.
I would too. I would too.
I would tell him about Jacob Marley, though.
I would too. I might call him Bob, but I'll definitely tell him about Jacob Marley. And that scene is just a little like, just be prepared.
Yeah.
Prepare
Just so
yourself.
you know.
It's just so you know, it's a little.
And if you're
Beetlejuice.
bringing children,
Don't bring children.
Well,
I'm sorry.
older kids,
Older
but-
kids, yeah. I would say 10, 9, 10. That
maybe.
stuff
I mean,
is,
I think it depends on your kid and how well they do with
6 years old
scary.
kids. I
don't
work
know,
with
it depends on
6-year-olds.
how
I
well they
work
do
with
with the
young
scary.
kids, and they can get scared easy.
It depends on your kid.
You know,
I think there are some kids. I mean,
Because I
come
think
on.
kids that age can easily have that, like, I want to go.
We
Like,
both
this is
know
scary.
kids.
I want to leave.
We both know kids though that have seen Deadpool,
Yes.
little ones.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's all of that, right? Like, there's all the extremes here.
But I'll tell you, we'll separate it from the fact that Deadpool is not scary. It's not
I think
scary.
he's
It's
completely
gross.
scary.
He's not scary. He's
He
gross and he's inappropriate.
And he's running around shooting people and cutting things off and all kinds of stuff.
But the separation is it's on a movie, it's on a TV versus, and so you can almost have that separation of this is a thing on a screen I can turn off versus live people 30 feet from you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you are desensitized as an adult. We're
That's a good
desensitized.
point.
You see like a shooting spree on TV, like, oh, that's interesting. You saw it if you were walking downtown Boston
Oh my God.
and you heard a shooting spree, you'd be running for your life,
Sure.
freaking out, and be having to calm down about it for days because it could have happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
It can't happen to you when you're watching it on screen, but it can happen to you because people that scary dude is flying around 20 feet away from you.
Yeah. But he's still fake.
As a kid.
Yeah, but he's
as
still
a kid,
fake.
you as a kid, as a 6-year-old, let's say 5, 6-year-old, you still have a hard time separating that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I can see that.
So I would just say, just be cautious of that.
I can see
if you
that.
think your kid is, a type of person who's going to be freaked out by that, you don't want to waste your money quarter way through the show. The kid's like, they want to go home.
Yeah.
And you got to leave. You spent the money just to watch 20 minutes of the show before he comes out, and then you got to go. So that would be my only recommendation on that.
Yeah.
It just, I think it would have been more effective if he stayed on the ground.
I don't know. I like the flying.
I thought that there was too much of him just flying. He was flying really high, by the way. It was like super high, like certain parts when he came back out and forth. It was like they had pulled him down at some point. He kind of swooped down mid-level.
Yeah.
But so here's my problem. So from a production standpoint, when he's flying up that high, you have a hard time, depending on where you're sitting, but especially if you're close, you have a hard time seeing him and Scrooge at the same time in your eye line.
Yeah.
So you're watching him, but you can't really watch Scrooge's reactions to him unless you do a tennis match back and forth, and then you're always missing something.
Yeah.
So if he was lower,
Yeah, that's
you
a
could
good
see
point.
them both at the same time and reactions to each other.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that because I just watched him. Like
Right.
I was just I forgot anything
Meanwhile,
else existed.
Ebenezer's doing an amazing performance. Their
Yes,
coffee's
and
doing an
I would
amazing
have
performance,
missed-
but you didn't see any of it because he was, he's so far away that you
I
can't
would've
see what
missed-
he's doing.
Yeah, it's a really good
You
point.
missed it.
It's a really good point.
So I think
Yeah.
that to me that would be the only. If I'm going to produce the stage performance for them, would bring him down a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe not ground, maybe not the whole time on the ground, but lower him a little bit so you can see him. I think there's some points where he could have been closer to him, like almost like in his face,
Yeah.
right? Like I think that to me is is scarier, but in a way of he's intense. It's more intense to be like nose to nose with him. You know what I mean? Like really in his personal. This is my dance space. This is your dance space. Like he's in his dance space. You know what I mean? Like that would have been. That would have been more effective to me than just kind of floating around up on almost in the rafters.
Yeah. I think there's definitely both ways to go with it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
I don't know. I'm really stuck on how scary and spooky it was. So.
You were definitely stuck on that. It's okay. That's all right. It should be an interesting night sleeping.
No, I'll sleep.
All right, good.
I have my own kind of old person opinion thing that I need to talk about.
Okay, go for it.
I am
You're talking about
shocked
people's clothing, aren't you?
by what people wore to this. Like I just
So this has nothing to do with the performance, nothing to do with the theater itself.
No.
Let's talk about it because I know you want to talk about this.
I just people had on athletic pants and sneakers.
Yeah, it was like yoga pants and stuff like
yoga
that.
pants
Sure.
and sneakers and
some people were dressed up,
sweatshirts.
like you and I were dressed up,
And
there were a lot of
sweatshirts.
people who were dressed up.
And I don't know,
But there were definitely a lot of people not dressed up.
Maybe I'm old school. Maybe I'm just, but when my parents brought me to stuff like that as a kid, I dressed up. And my mother always said to me, it was a sign of respect for the people there. Like that, for the actors, like they worked really hard and that's what they're supposed to do. And you don't even have to carry it that far. But for God's sake, there's dressy jeans now. Put on some jeans, put on some boots. We don't need to wear athletic pants.
So let's have this discussion because I'm not there with you on that. I understand what you're talking about because my parents still feel the same way. right? They've had this ripped jean discussion, and we've had this, people go to the airport.
Yeah, this is not a place
pajamas.
to wear ripped jeans either.
No, I don't think ripped jeans is the way to go. But what I will say, to have a counterbalance to what you're saying, we dressed up, so I'm not saying I should have not dressed up. I enjoy dressing up. I thought it was nice. I went for your birthday. However, one, I don't really care what other people do. Like when it comes to that point, as long as they're not getting in my way, I really don't care. You want to wear your yoga pants, wear your yoga pants. It doesn't affect me. You're not my kids. You're not affecting my life. You don't reflect on me. So therefore, I give them a little bit of separation. But I will say, the actors, I doubt care that you're wearing yoga pants. They're dressed up.
Right?
What they care about is that you enjoy their performance. You paid your money. You enjoy their performance, and you tell more people to come.
Sure.
Tell more people to come in yoga pants. They could care less.
Oh, I'm sure.
So the lack of respect part of it, like having respect for the actors. I respected the actors by showing up, spending my money, shutting my mouth so they could have a good performance and not being obnoxious. Right? Using my phone or talking. That's me respecting.
Keeping your mask on.
Keeping my mask on. Exactly. They hammered that 100 times. I'm glad they did. So that's showing respect for the production, for the stage, for the theater, for the actors. Yeah. That to me is showing respect. What I wear, they're not going to see me. They don't see me. You've been on stage. I've been on stage. Yeah. You see the lights. You can barely see a person in the audience unless you're really hard to look. So who cares what the audience is wearing at that point? As long as they're not going, jeans halfway down their ass with their underwear hanging out, or like you said, ripped stuff, and then you just look low class. You don't just look like you're disrespecting. You just look low class.
Oh, well, I don't.
Which I think is a difference.
I still think I just still think there are certain things like.
So why do we do that? Like, why do we dress up then for a theater performance? We dress up for church, but not everybody dresses up for church anymore either. You know what I mean? Maybe they're not wearing ripped jeans, but I've seen people in sweatshirts at church, and
yeah, I don't like that either.
I know you don't. I do. I couldn't care less. When we go, we tend to put on something nice. I don't wear my workout pants like I wear to work. You know what I mean?
And I'm not saying
church,
I definitely wear jeans to church.
Yeah,
but I wear jeans with a nice shirt and boots, and it's the same thing here. Like, I'm not saying everybody needs to wear a 3-piece suit or something like that, but I think there is a level of like, maybe we can wear shoes that aren't sneakers today. Maybe we could not wear yoga pants.
So it comes down to the fact that I think, there's definitely a shift, right? There's a shift in the way people do things nowadays, for good, bad, or otherwise. But things evolve constantly, right? I say this because I have this argument with my parents all the time. There's a shift in a way people do things, and it's not the same as it was 5 years ago. It's not the same as it was 20 years ago. It's not the same as it was 100 years ago. Everything has been evolving and different, for good, bad, or otherwise. To me, it's not about what the clothes that we wear. It's about your level of respect for people, right? How you treat people, right? Respect means treating people the way you want to be treated, right? Thank you, Kids Love Life Skills. Plug there. .com. So, you want to treat people with respect. I treat people with respect, so they treat me with respect, right? That's all I really care about. And just, staying out of my way. I'm going to stay out of your way. Stay out of my way. Let me live my life, and I'll let you live yours. To me, so your clothing options, your clothing choices, unless they're offensive, meaning there's like stuff written on it that's offensive, obviously meant to be offensive to people, I could care less, because it doesn't really affect my life. I see you in your yoga pants for 2 hours and I go away and I don't care. Are you comfortable? When you go to the show, were you comfortable?
I was comfortable in what I had on. I'm
not super comfortable in what I'm wearing, but that's just for a different reason. But I've never been super comfortable wearing dress pants and a dress shirt with a tie, which I didn't have on today. It's just not my most comfortable feeling. I mean, I've always struggled with my weight, things like that, so that's probably a reason why. Maybe if I was in, tip-top shape, I'd like it more. But there are people they want to be comfortable. I'm going to sit there. I'm spending my money, like going to the airport. We know nowadays people wear their pajamas, but in some ways you have to, because you have to constantly take off your shoes and stuff like that. And the less you wear, the better, right? No metal, because then it just causes longer lines. So people go, I'm going to be on a plane for 6 hours. I want to go into this theater for 3 hours. I just want to be comfortable. I don't want to sit in, a skirt and tights, or a suit jacket with a tie on, or even just a button. It's not as comfortable as my yoga pants or my workout pants or my sweatshirt. As long as they're clean, not ripped, right? Then you're just going, you're comfortable. I'm comfortable. I'm watching the show. I'm comfortable, and I'm enjoying the show, and I do my standing ovation. I pay my money, and
I don't buy it. You're not gonna.
No, I'm not trying to win you over. I'm just saying. I'm just staying on my side of it.
Persuade me.
Oh, I know I'm not. I believe me. I've never thought I was going to persuade my parents either. I'm not going to persuade anybody. What I'm doing is just giving the other side,
which I appreciate.
That's
You're
all.
very good at that.
That's it.
But
introducing the other side of the equation to it.
The other side, and there are a lot of times I can hear the other side. With this one, I really struggle. I think sometimes
But I think we should always be able to hear the other side. Whether you don't have to agree with it, you don't have to like it, you don't have to change your point of view. But I think we all deserve to be heard. I think other people say, because if you had one way of looking at something and people didn't agree with it, you'd still want them to hear your side. Mm-hmm. Like, I still want to, you have your opinion, I have my opinion on something, but you still want me to hear your version or your side of it. Whether I change my mind or not, I know you don't get affected by that. It doesn't bother you if I don't, but you're still like, oh shit, I kind of want to, can I tell my side of it? Can I hear my version of it? Can't you hear that? Can't you give me the respect to hear me out and listen to my side? That's it.
Yeah. And I think that where that falls apart is people struggle to hear, I think this is a much bigger conversation, and I think it depends on what you're talking about. And it depends on, if, when you're arguing about an opinion, it's very different than when you're arguing about something that's fact-based.
Sure,
right?
Absolutely. And to me, more important, not arguing something that's hurting somebody.
Exactly. Like that's...
Right. So somebody wearing the yoga pants to the North Shore Music isn't hurting anybody.
But it's just my thing.
Right.
It's just my thing that I think this is, that this is not what should be done, and I would never let Christian wear workout pants to any theater production we take him to. But that's
what if he's in his 20s? What if he's 18, 20, 21 years old and we just happen to go with him? Like, hey, we're going to go and do this. We went with my parents to go see Sebastian Maniscalco.
Yes,
right.
But we didn't.
No, I'm just saying.
Wear workout pants.
No, I get that. I'm saying, what if they did? What if we did? What if we wanted to? And my parents are on your side of this equation. They want people to be dressed up, and what the hell? Why aren't people still doing this? It's too lax. It's too lax.
Would not.
What if we were the type who I'm just dressing comfortably?
Yeah, because you know what? I'll have to think about that, because when he's older, I'd like to say that I'll be okay with it, but I don't know. But you know what? There's really nothing I can do about it.
Well, that's it. That's really what it comes down to. If we wanted to do that, there'd been nothing my parents could have done about it, other than just not go with us.
Well, which is always an option, but I would never do that.
Right,
and
because that's just shooting yourself in the foot for something that's not actually hurting anybody.
I think that's a silly thing. So I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get there.
Yeah.
But I'll make my opinion known prior to.
There is not a doubt in my mind that you'll make your opinion known on that, and that is okay. You're his mom. So the day you draw your last breath, that is your job.
That is my job.
That is the job you signed up for.
Lucky him.
Lucky him. That's what I say every day. He's a lucky, lucky boy.
He is. He's a good boy.
He is the best boy. Okay, so North Shore Music Theater, Christmas Carol. We loved it. We definitely recommend it. Mm-hmm. We might have had a couple of issues, but they're minor.
Yeah, small
They
things.
did not detract. They did not make us not want to recommend it. We definitely want to recommend it to people. Like I said, it's probably going to be shut down already, but next year. Put it on your schedule for next year. Absolutely.
Or look for their spring productions too, because they've got
they do so many
several
good things.
Musical things, several. I think they're starting in June, either May or June, with Smokey Joe's Cafe, because I know Cinderella's July, because that one.
I'm actually on their website right
Kinky
now.
Boots were the ones that I really
June 7th through the 19th
is
Smokey Joe's Cafe. Smokey Joe's, yes. Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella is July 12th through the 24th. So that looks good. Oh, the Little Shop of Horrors coming up.
I like Little Shop of Horrors.
So do I. Kinky Boots is coming.
I've always wanted to see Kinky Boots.
I know. So we should definitely make a plan to go see that. That's next October 25th through the November 6th.
Yeah. Their season is long, and then Christmas Carol traditionally is after that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And they do some kids productions too. I don't know if they've announced all of that yet.
Let's see.
They're talking about some tribute concerts
Kid
and
shows
bands.
Again, their website is nsmt.org. A Year with a Frog and Toad is March 26th. So they have that looks like the only thing. That seems to be the only thing that they have on there right now.
Usually in the summer they have some kid-friendly shows, shorter versions or things like that.
Yeah.
But, they may be waiting just with everything going on to see how things settle out.
Yeah, and if you do go, just make sure you bring your mask, because they will need you to wear a mask the entire time. Otherwise, they will give you one on the way on the door.
Yeah,
I saw that.
They're prepared for sure.
They're very prepared. I saw
They're
people
prepared.
holding on to like the lots of them so they could hand them out in case anybody didn't have one.
Yeah.
In that way. So all right, there you go. So all right, so that's the show that we saw, and we still have some time. I would like to talk about other versions of A Christmas Carol that you liked. Let's run it down. We're talking about A Christmas Carol anyway. What is your all-time favorite version?
Don't laugh.
I'm not gonna laugh.
I have two.
Okay.
Mickey's Christmas Carol, the cartoon.
Oh yeah.
I love that one.
Yes, I do too.
Because there's so much nostalgia for me. Like when I was younger, and Ryan and I we used to go to my grandmother's, and we used to stay there and watch it that night, and we would sleep over, and
That's on Disney Plus now, right?
It's on Disney Plus. Yeah, I just watched it last night.
Yes,
actually.
you did. Yes, you did.
I just watched it last night. That one, I love that one. And then my next favorite one, strangely, which I never saw till I met you, is Scrooged.
Really?
I love Scrooged.
Huh.
It's one of my favorite Christmas movies now.
That's awesome.
It's one of my, I just think it's such a nice modern take on it that is so well done. And Bill Murray's great. I love how they do the ghosts. I think,
that is still one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the. I've never seen. I am sure I would love the Patrick Stewart version. I've never seen it, so I am sure
it was good. He's really good.
I mean, he's just such an incredible actor. So I don't, I feel like I need to put that out there. Like I'm not. I certainly have not seen every version available.
No.
But that one I'm sure would be a favorite of mine as well.
He's really good. That's still one of my favorites too. I like the Muppets. It's one of my favorite Muppet movies. I like next to Muppets Take Manhattan, which is still oddly enough my favorite. Maybe it's just that might just be a nostalgia thing for me. It's certainly not actually their best one, but it's my favorite because of nostalgia reason.
I don't think Mickey's Christmas Carol is the greatest version of Christmas Carol either. It just reminds me of my childhood.
Right.
It makes me happy to think of it. So
and what a best time of year to go to delve into the stuff like that, right? Okay, so Scrooged, definitely Bill Murray. And you're right, the versions of the ghosts with Carol Kane as the Ghost of Christmas Past, and she's kind of rough and tough, and she kind of smacks him around a little bit. She hits him. She's like, "Stop hitting me!" He's like, "I'll rip your damn wings off." That was one of my favorites. And then
no, she's not the Ghost of Christmas Past. She's the Ghost of Christmas.
No, she's present. The cab driver was the Ghost of Christmas Past. And I know this guy too, and I can't for some reason.
He's hysterical.
Yes, I can't remember his name, the actor that played him, but he's somebody that you would know because he's been around a little bit. He's been around a while. I'm looking it up right now, which I should have had up beforehand, but I didn't know you were going to hit me with that one. Scrooge, IMDb. I love the IMDb. My favorite places. Let's see. This is with Bobcat Goldthwait, by the way. David Johansen. He's the Ghost of Christmas Past. John Glover's in it. Karen Allen.
John Glover, really?
Yeah, he's the guy. He's Bryce Cummings. The guy that he thinks is taking over the production of the show. Really buddy. Yeah, it's John Glover. A very young John Glover. So yeah, pretty cool. Carol Kane's in it. Michael Pollard's in it. Alfre Woodard, a young Alfre Woodard, is in it. Mm-hmm. She is Grace, his assistant. She's amazing in it. Buddy Hackett, he plays Scrooge in it. So that movie is wonderful, right? It's Bill Murray runs this television station, basically this television empire eventually, and they're coming up with a live version production that's like simulcast of a Christmas Carol, so that it is simulcast around the world. Mm-hmm. So it's him doing this whole thing. He's just like this egotistical narcissist of a
it's a very Bill Murray role. I have to say it's a lot like Groundhog. Quite frankly, it's a lot like Groundhog Day.
Yep.
Like he plays a similar guy.
Yep.
Phil Connors and what's his name in this one?
He is this one. He's Frank Cross.
And Frank Cross are very similar.
Yeah.
But when they both go through these nice evolutions.
Right.
But yeah, Frank Cross is. I think I really like that.
Very quotable movie too. I grew up watching this movie, and I actually saw this in the theaters with my mother.
You know what?
It came out. My brother too. I'm sure.
One of my favorite things is that he drinks Tab.
Yes. Right. He was 88.
I loved Tab.
Yeah, my mother was a big Tab person too. She loved Tab.
I miss Tab.
This came out in 88.
Bob Flick drank a lot of tab too.
Before we turned over to the Coke Zero.
Well, no, it was always a mix.
Yeah, okay.
It was always a mix.
All right.
I miss tab.
So you know who I didn't realize? Jacob Marley was played by Jamie Farr. In the production, not the guy who came to him. In the stage production.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, he wasn't the guy who came to him. His real version, Jacob Marley. Let's see, that was what was his name? I'm trying to find him. This is guy, because I love the fact that they do so many different movie and TV like shows. Like, they have the Lee Majors, basically the Fall Guy is kicking ass in Christmas. Mm-hmm. That was really funny. And so Preston was Robert Mitchum, and Herman. Gene Farr, but who's the guy who plays Lee Majors? No, it's not coming to me really fast.
No idea.
Yeah, so basically his guy that he used to work for, who was the one that died, and he came back and told him to straighten out, and he's just like, I think it was Lou, right? He's like, hell, there was a lot of women. He's like, well, let's face it, you paid for the women though. Yeah, that was really good. A lot of good stars in this one. Like I said, Buddy Hackett and Robert Goulet, and that was a fun movie. I mean, it was a different take on it, right? Mm-hmm. It was a very different take on A Christmas Carol, right? Made for the 80s.
I really liked
it. Good 80s thing. So it's definitely rewatchable if you haven't rewatched it. I remember being in the theater, and at the end when he's talking to the audience, he's trying to get the audience to sing. Mm-hmm. That was like one of the first times I'd ever seen that. Like in a movie theater, like when they were talking, other than like at the end of Ferris Bueller when he talks to the audience.
Yeah.
He's talking to the audience like, come on, sing. All right, all the women sing. He's like, all right, now all the men. No, all the real men. Come on, sing. Let's go. You in the audience who talked through the entire movie. You start singing. You know what I mean? That was really ingenious. I thought that was a good way to go with it. So yeah, if you haven't seen Scrooge with Bill Murray, go see it. It's funny. His brother plays his father when they go to the past.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's Brian Doyle Murray who plays Earl Cross. He was great, and he reminded me of like my family, right? He's just like, he's like, get a job. You want this toy? He's like, go get a job. She's like, he's 4. He's like, yeah, he's 4. I deal with people all the time. My bad. I'm only 4. Get a job.
I'm only 4.
Yeah. Yeah, only 4 years old. Yeah, that was a good one. So all right, so Scrooged and Mickey Christmas Carol, 2 favorites. I like those. Those are good picks. I didn't expect that. I can definitely say I expected Mickey's, but I didn't expect Scrooge, especially since you had just seen it. Like for the first time, we watched it together.
Yeah, but we've watched it. Like we watch it every year now. I like it.
Yeah. Did we watch it this year? We did, right? We watched it already this year. Although we could go for another watch, to be honest with you, because we could watch Christmas movies all the time.
We often do.
So, what are your favorite Christmas movies then? I did a Christmas episode already, but that's okay. I want to hear your version. What are your favorite Christmas movies to rewatch every year? What's your list? It's Christmas time. Let's talk about it.
The Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus, yes, with Tim Allen.
Yeah, just 1 and 2, not 3. I don't like the Jack Frost one. What else?
Did you have standards?
Yes, I do. Elf, of course.
Yes. It's funny. You heard on the podcast, my buddy Mike had just rewatched it. He only first watched it like a couple of years ago.
Oh.
This is like a toy guy, like a Christmas toy guy. He'd only seen like a couple of years ago.
Elf.
Blew my mind.
Christmas Vacation. Home Alone. I saw Home Alone in the theaters.
Did you?
Yeah.
I did too. I'm a mixed bag on Home Alone.
I love Home Alone. Just the original.
Yeah.
Not 2.
I love all
3.
like it's 2021, right? People are kind of jumping on everything nowadays. Like everything gets pointed out like to a feverish amount, especially with the internet, and how people are just like they come down on that movie mostly because of him, because that kid would have been in jail for the crap that he pulled and what he did to those guys, and those guys would have been dead. There's no way they could like step on the nails, smacking them with like the bone crushing things that he did to them when he hits them with the paint cans and stuff like that, and then they fall backwards. They had back broken and caved in skulls.
Sure.
But they just bounce away and they get pissy and run away.
But it's a Christmas movie and it's happy, so
it's Christmas movie and happy. But he's doing these amazingly dangerous things and teaching kids to defend their castle by hitting people with full paint cans.
It's no worse than Looney Tunes.
Right, which is why you don't see them as much anymore.
Yeah.
Because people learn and especially with the old Looney Tunes, there's a lot of guns in the old Looney Tunes shows.
Yeah, well,
so they don't really play that much anymore.
Well, people have
even the new versions don't.
But I think you also have to learn how to separate things and teach your kids to separate, right?
And that's where it can fall apart.
Yes. They have to try to but also who's leaving their kid alone? The whole movie, right? What
the whole premise, yes.
If you heard there was a kid alone,
DCF
they're not going to go by and knock on the door. The police are going to go in and check.
Yes.
And they're going to
DCF nightmare.
I mean, come on, they're going to put the kid in custody. It's not,
Sure, it's a premise.
It's a premise. It's you got to suspend a lot of belief for that.
Yes.
Never mind the point that he gets to with the wet bandits,
right. And then it happens again in New York.
Yeah.
They do the same thing to him, and I was running around New York in the second one. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it. Any other ones? What about classic ones? I mentioned on the last episode, we talked so much about newer things, but we never talked about the originals. Your White Christmas, your Christmas, Third Milk on 34th Street, and like that.
White Christmas, Samantha and I watch that every year together. Yeah. We haven't this year yet, actually. I'll have to discuss that with her.
Let's go. It's the 19th. You got to.
I know. We watch that every year together. We love that one. I also really like It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we used to, my uncles, there would be we would go to his house for Christmas Eve, and on the porch they would always have that on, playing. There's a TV out there.
I've never seen the whole thing.
Oh God!
I just started to watch it last week. If you look at, I want to see the Apple or Netflix or something. It's in my continue watching.
Yeah.
I started watching it, but it's in color.
No,
they colorized it.
Oh no!
It kind of, and even though I've never seen it all the way through, I've seen enough of it to know it's supposed to be black and white. So when I saw it in color, it was a little off-putting.
It ruins it.
It does, because even though they colorized a movie that old, it doesn't look natural.
Yeah.
Because you see what a color movie looks like now.
Yep.
It doesn't look natural. It definitely looks like a postcard. They tried to color it in with a crayon.
Oh, I don't think I could make it through with it colorized.
It should be black and white. That definitely deserves to be black and white.
I really like that one. I mean, I think it's. I like the premise of that one, that everyone's life affects so many people you just don't realize, particularly your positive impacts. Unless you're not there, it's very easy to just add up the negative and not focus on the positive. So I do like It's a Wonderful Life. I think it's really, there's a theater apparently that shows it every year around Christmas time.
Around here? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Lowell or something. Remember Wendy got tickets. Our sister-in-law.
Yeah, soon-to-be sister-in-law.
Our soon-to-be sister-in-law had tickets.
They're engaged. They're not married yet. Soon-to-be sister-in-law.
Yeah. She had tickets, and she invited...
Welcome to the family. Good luck, Wendy.
Be nice. Be nice.
She knows what she's getting into.
Everybody does. Everybody thinks they do.
Everybody thinks they do.
Everybody thinks they do.
All right, Deborah. So...
And then...
then they're going to call you Deborah.
Just call me Deborah.
There it is. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Amy, anything else you want to say before we go?
No. I think it was a wonderful... I would recommend the North Shore Music Theater for anything. So
yes.
I think I would highly recommend them.
And the biggest part to me is that intimacy. Mm-hmm. Right? I do like going to see a big production. I like going to the Wang. I like going, if they're still doing anything. I've been to New York, seen some stuff there. But there's definitely something to be said for that intimacy, just to be that close to the stage where everything's happening around you. So you definitely feel a part of what's going on. So definitely, if you get a chance, check it out. The Bill Hanney's North Shore Music Theater. And that's it. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
That was fun.
That was fun.
All right, everybody, keep on ranting. If you'd like to chat with us, find us online at entertainmentrants.com. All of our social media, Entertainment Rants. Twitter's Entertain Rants. And drop us a line at engageentertainmentrants.com. Find us on all the major platforms, and feel free to drop us a review on Apple Podcasts, and we'd love to be able to read it on the show. All right, everybody. Thank you, Amy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, go out there. Keep on ranting, everybody.